Well, hey, hello, yet again. It's Ru and Stu in the shed. And we've got a very special guest this week, haven't we, Ruth?
We have. We've got Graham Sinden, our retired minister. Hi, Graham.
Hi.
Lovely to have you with us. And I just wanted to for you to talk to us about where you're living now and what you're doing in your retirement.
Well, yeah, it's just lovely to have any connection really with old friends at KBC. We think of you often, usually, I don't know about every day, but so many reminders. So yeah, great to see you both and everyone else who might be watching. So what am I doing? Where are we? Yeah, Shrewsbury. Shrewsbury is somewhere that I get the feeling people go whizzing past on their way to Wales, but it's well worth a look. It's on the border, only 10 miles or so from the Welsh border. Nice town. It's lots of medieval buildings and the River Severn that winds itself around. And we live just 3/4 of a mile from the centre of town. So yeah, we love it here.
But sorry, isn't it usually under the Severn rather than on the Severn?
Yeah, yes, it does have a problem with flooding. Yeah. It's been very sad, some of the damage and loss of livelihood for people. Yeah.
So what have you been up to?
Well, right. Where does one start? So we've been here, 2.5 years now. It was October 2018.
Wow.
And I the Lord's been so good to us. We used to talk, over the years prior to retirement, speculating where we might end up. And it was a little joke between Dorothy and I. Dorothy used to talk about, we'll have a caravan in Sunderland. No disrespect to John Miller and Sunderland, but here we are with a lovely house. And I'm actually in a downstairs room, which is the demarcation line in the middle, because Dorothy's got her craft work down that end. And I've got what's a small study here. I'm sure she's got more space than me, but anyway. And we've got a garden, we've got a conservatory, and it's a good location. There's a bus service every 1/4 of an hour. Well, normally when it's not locked down, straight into town, bus pass and everything. So yeah, very good. What else do you want to know?
What do you get up to? How do you fill your days? What?
Oh, well, of course, lockdown is frustrating and keeps you stuck in the house most of the time, especially in the winter. Well, one of the things actually, just on the personal side, I've been digging around old slides, and my father left lots of slides. So, those old transparencies that go back so long, 50 years. So I've been scanning them onto the computer and trying to improve them. And that's been a lot of fun, especially for my brothers and I, as we reminisce. Of course, we're not far. Normally we'd see family a lot more. The main reason, the first reason we came to this area was to be near our grandson, James and Rachel, who live at Nantwich, which is 50 minutes drive north in Cheshire. Of course, we can't see them at the moment. So we would normally, be seeing family and so on. Yeah, where am I going with this? I don't know. What am I doing? Well, the church keeps me busy. Do you want to know about that?
Yeah, you definitely.
Yeah, okay. We're very thankful to the Lord for giving the timing, because we had, let me see, was it 1 year and 5 months or so here before lockdown?
Yeah.
If I've done my sums right. And that gave us an opportunity to get involved in the church and get to know people. Had we moved here 1 year later, we wouldn't know anyone, and lockdown would be that much harder. But we're making some really good friends here, some lovely people, and they've invited me onto their leadership team, mainly because there's what they call a interregnum. So we've got no minister at the moment. Charles, the minister, left a few months after we arrived, hopefully nothing to do with us, retiring. So we're actively looking for a minister at the moment. So that keeps me busy and preaching and doing various things. Yeah.
Yeah, and how's Dorothy? You mentioned her craft. Is she doing lots of crafty things? And
good question. Yes. She's producing so many wonderful things. The plan is actually to have a sale at some point and raise some money. There's a housing, there's a project very much in its infancy, but the plan is to have a house for the homeless in the town. And so she's been making lots of things with the hope of having a stall sometime to sell, and also quilts. She's done some lovely quilts. She's actually working on one at the moment. Cooking, she's done meals for people. It was a young family with 3 children, and 2 of them twins, and so she was doing meals, and for other people doing cakes and so on. So yeah, she's pretty busy. Yep.
Well, you must tell. I was just going to say.
Give us a quick update on Emma and James.
Yeah, sure. Okay, Emma's not far from you guys. She's with Stephen in Banbury, and she's with this pet food, pet products marketing. It's all online. And Stephen is with the ambulance service at Bicester. And then James and Rachel, as I say, at Nantwich. Our little grandson Eddie, he's now 5.
Oh my goodness.
Started school in September, but they're all well, thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say, you must tell Dorothy at Christmas we did mince pies on a Zoom, and we used all her mince pie toppings that she made, all the almond ones and that. So yeah, that was really lovely. All her recipes we used. So.
Yes, I will. Yeah.
Yes, tell her we yeah. And do you have time for your interests? I know you were keen on trains. Are you still?
Yeah, actually it's more birding
Okay.
than anything else. Yeah, when there is a steam special, as it were, and there are some heritage railways around, like the Severn Valley Railway and some in Wales. But I do love birding. I got into it, I suppose, 10 years ago, maybe longer. Otmore, many memorable days, hours spent at RSPB Otmore in Oxfordshire there. In many ways that kept me sane, I think. And there's some great places here to get out, although sadly you can't use hides reserves because of lockdown restrictions. Yeah. But the other day I had a spectacular morning, went out, the weather not that brilliant, didn't expect much, but actually saw a pair of peregrines and even got a photo of a peregrine. So fastest creature in the world. I mean, it wasn't going that fast, it wasn't chasing its prey, but nevertheless I was really pleased with that, being able to get a photo. So yeah, that's a fun thing I like doing.
Yeah. And you mentioned lockdown, but how's lockdown generally been?
Yeah, to be honest, let's face it, when you think of how it's really affected people who have been very ill, people who have lost loved ones and so on, we haven't experienced any of that. We're very grateful. Nobody in our family has caught it. And even in the church here, there have been 1 or 2, but they've recovered. So, and I understand it's the same at Kidlington. I think that what we miss most, or certainly I miss most, is, I think I can speak for Dorothy, is just not being at church on a Sunday for a whole year. Yeah. I find the weekends hardest. If I'm going to get depressed, it will be the weekend. Really, really miss that. And you guys are so clever. You've got Cuba there, and you're doing all the technical stuff, and Sarah and so on. And we dip into Kidlington services sometimes, and it's brilliant. We haven't got those resources here, so it's just a pre-recorded message usually. Sometimes something separate in the way of prayers, maybe, and 1 or 2 songs from YouTube. which is great. That keeps us, and also through the week we've got a WhatsApp group. So every day there's something on the WhatsApp and the Facebook page, so that does help. But there's nothing like really meeting together and gathering together physically. Looking forward to that so much.
Now, I mean, weekends must be really hard for you, Graham. I mean, with Arsenal losing on the Saturday and then no church on the Sunday.
Hey, there's a match soon after this. I hope this doesn't go on too long. Arsenal on live tonight. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah. So, how do you think Arteta's doing?
Yeah, I don't know. Can't make it out really. He's got some wonderful, skillful players there. It's just getting them organised, and we're a very generous team. We like to give the other team a chance, and we give them a goal or give them an easy chance, and makes it harder for us then. But there we are.
And thinking of lockdown, if you could choose 2 people who you would like to share your lockdown with.
Oh yeah. Right. Well, I have given this some thought. Okay, because it could be dead or alive, can't they?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go for a biblical character, Barnabas.
Oh.
I think the idea is 10 days of being stuck with the same people. I mean, he's such a big-hearted guy, generous, encourager, and I'm sure he would have so many tales to tell. The other way around, tales to tell. I think he would be great company. And then the other, I thought, a guy called Tom Wright. I'm sure you hear Tom Wright from the preacher. I certainly refer to him. I've read so many. Sorry?
Marlene.
Yeah, Marlene's, yes, she's a fan. I've read so many of his books, and of course he's been so helpful for Bible teaching and so on. But you sort of grow closer to people if you read people that much. And he's far from being a dry academic. He's got all kinds of interests, particularly with classical music. I mean, I love classical music. And I think the idea of being in the room with those two, it'd be interesting to see how many of Tom Wright's theories and interpretations have got right. Barnabas would say, no, you've got Paul all wrong there, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And he's a sort of guy, whilst he's an academic, he's way beyond my level, but I think, he would still be able to cope with me, and we'll be able to have good conversations. So those are my 2. Yeah.
Cool.
So the other, I did have a problem there because I thought maybe I'll go for John Stott because, he's another guy who I've read a lot. And of course I have met actually a couple of times. John Stott, who died, 2012, wasn't it, I think? Yeah. And of course his great hobby was birding.
Yeah. Okay.
So one could talk with him about his snowy owl and whatever else he took photos of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Graham, you've had a lifetime in Baptist ministry. I wonder if you'd just like to reflect on that for a little bit. How the role of the pastor has changed, how churches have changed over the years. Anything strike you?
Oh, crumbs. That's a big question. Role of a pastor. Well, I suppose, my granddad was a minister, and there's more, what's the word, deference. There was more status, I suppose, if you like. I held him in some high regard. And in those days, there usually was a pulpit quite right up in the air, 6 foot high above contradiction. So I'm glad we've got past that, and I'm glad that the minister is amongst others and part of a team with multiple gifts and so on. I always believed in that sort of collegiate leadership. Which I think we enjoyed. As far as I'm concerned, we had at Kidlington during those years. And you mentioned Marlene earlier. I mean, she's a good example of someone who was absolutely priceless in her role. And your wife, Stuart, even you years ago, we used to get up early for prayer meetings together.
Yeah. Even me.
Yeah, oh boy, those were the days. So, yeah, because it can be a lonely job, and it inevitably it's going to be to some extent. But when you've got good, faithful, mature Christians alongside you, that makes it so much easier, and they can lovingly correct you too, and help you with your blind spots.
And Graham, have you got a favourite Bible verse?
Yeah. This is one that's always been, I think, it's always been a special verse for me. In John's Gospel, John talks a lot about the sort of intimate relationship we have with God, and also the fact that God is Father, Son, and Spirit. And in John 14, he's talking about the promise of the Holy Spirit. And he says, I'm using the NIV here, I prefer this particular translation for this verse. If anyone loves me, he will obey my teaching. My Father will love him, and we will come to him and make our home with him. So I just love that. Obviously, if we love the Lord, then we're going to listen to him, and we're going to follow his teaching. And then he says, my Father will love him. So we have a relationship with God as Father, and we will come to him and make our home with him. So a sense of, the Trinitarian God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Wonderful. Good. Better shut up there or I'll start preaching.
It's all right. You wouldn't mind that too much. Yeah.
Fine.
I mean, you mentioned memories of KBC, but you just must have so many.
Yes, so many. Actually, I nearly forgot. There's something I'm about to show you that hangs on the wall just over there. Right. Can you see that?
Yeah.
I think there's a similar one up in the office at KBC. This is what Martin took the away weekend back in whatever it was, just a few years ago. So that's always up here in this sort of office come craft room to remind us of you. So yeah, I mean, was it 21 years or so? Whole huge number of memories and so many people that we hope we can keep up with to some extent, at least visit you now and then. And we've had a few people pop in here on their way to holiday or something. So I mean, there were some tough times when, but that's how it is in any job, isn't it? In any career. Hopefully you learn through those things, and sometimes our faith becomes stronger through those things.
Yeah, no, there were some hard times, but I always felt that you led us through those well, and held us together.
Well, thank you, Stuart. Yeah. There were some difficult times, but lots of far more were the precious times. And somebody the other day reminded me. I'm not sure if I should mention her name, perhaps I shouldn't. But there was one of our young people who I thought she was quite a character, and I don't know. I just found it a little bit difficult getting to know this person. But she's now an adult and doing so well in her chosen career, and also doing so well as a faithful follower of Jesus. And just happened to be mentioned in a conversation the other day, and they said, "Yeah, I remember that person was a young teenager," and that is so encouraging when you hear how people have grown up and they've settled and they've married and they're out and out for the Lord and serving the Lord, in their work. Fantastic.
Right. Is it time?
You meant, I think we just wait another moment. Cromwell. Did you expect to get us involved in the church in Shrewsbury when you came out to retire, or did that somehow a little bit take you by surprise?
We did a couple of spying missions, as it were, a couple of weekends, and on both occasions we went to the Baptist church here, and we thought, oh right, well, there's somewhere we can start. And another thing is where we now live, 36 Conway Drive, it's only what 12-13 minutes walk to the church. Although actually the church has two buildings, one right in the center of the town, which has a wonderful cafe, fully recommend, called Palmer's. But the bigger building is, as I say, quite close. So right from the outset, I think the very first Sunday after we moved here, we went there. Yeah, we felt at home right away. Went to a house group and started to make friends. They asked me to do bits and pieces. I'm in a schools team, something called Open the Book, where we do an assembly. And as a team, we dress up and do a story. We've just done something for Easter. We had to video it this time. We're not able to go into the school, so we videoed it. I was pilot, had to dress up and everything. And anyway, and then of course when the minister retired, they called upon me more for that. And yeah, as I say, I'm in the leadership team here, which is good. I really enjoy. Yeah.
Great.
Okay, Cromwell, over to you.
All right. Cromwell's got a question to ask you. He says, do you prefer cats or dogs?
Do you know, I didn't catch what you said earlier about Cromwell. So this is Cromwell. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Cats or dogs? Oh, whoa. We've had both. Has to be dogs, I think.
Yeah.
Although the best arrangement is when it's your daughter who's got the dog. So she pays for the vet bills and cleans up. We can just enjoy the dog.
That sounds a good deal.
Well, so on that note, get your daughter to clean up after the dog. I think we'll leave our conversation there. Thanks everyone for watching, and we hope to be back next week with another guest.